Have you ever woke up in the middle of a dream and the dream was so interesting that you wanted to go back to sleep to see the end of it? If so, what was the dream? The one that I still think of sometimes is that I was sitting around with my wife and a couple of friends playing cards and I hear a couple of plops on the table. I look down and two of my fingertips are there, left index and left ring. No blood, no pain. My hand looks like the nubs people have years after losing a finger in an accident. The detached fingertips still look healthy and the formerly attached ends appear the same as my nubs, healed, sealed over with skin. I mention my calamity and say I need to go to the hospital and my friend thinks I'm overreacting since there's zero blood and zero pain. My wife reluctantly takes me in. The dream cuts to the hospital where I have a couple of doctors just kinda shrugging and going, well, if there's no pain, we don't see a problem. And that is when I woke up. Was watching a football game on the yard outside of my childhood home. One team featured Frazier Crane as a star player. The other team's star was Jesus Christ, wearing a white gown and sandals. Jesus was unstoppable. He ran a sweep to the right on every play and once he hit the corner, he was gone. A touchdown on every play. Frazier Crane would throw a touchdown pass to a cousin of mine on every play. The dream ended before the game was over, so I would have liked to continue watching to see if anyone ever could tackle Jesus or sack Mr. Crane. I tend to get extremely vivid dreams when I take a tolerance break from marijuana. Like, movie realistic, I remember everything. It's not just abstract thoughts or blurs, but something that feels like a real memory. I had one very similar to what you're talking about. The first girl I really thought I fell in love with, and I were on our honeymoon on the beach, just loving life and playing in the waves. I threw her once and looked up to see a giant wave coming and absolutely destroying me. I woke up in bed panicking, then realized I was just at our home and that the honeymoon had been a dream. But I still had the ring on my finger. I went downstairs to start making breakfast, and as she came down the stairs I glanced at the clock in the kitchen, and then everything went black. I woke up in my bed alone, because we broke up like 10 years ago and haven't seen each other in years. Shit, that hurt. It really hurt. It had all seemed so fucking real. I have 2 reoccurring dreams, probably half a dozen times each, and every time I wake up mid-story, if you can call it that. In one, I have all the powers of Spider-Man, and I literally have to fight armies of demons and orcs emerging from a crack in the earth. These dreams are always amazing. Very cinematic MCU style combat in urban environments against Hellspawn, and alongside like SWAT guys and stuff. And they always feel so real. In the other one, Abraham Lincoln shows up and is flying around like Superman. Once or twice I've gotten to ride on his back while he flies. That's it, that's the dream. I never know WTF it's supposed to be about. I was a detective in the 1960s, chasing a man who killed women while they were home alone, including my wife, on the night I stayed back at the cop shop working on his case. I found the warehouse he was living in. It was definitely him. He taped all his trophies, the hair of his victims, to the back wall. My wife's ponytail, her bright red hair, was taped to the dirty concrete wall. I raised my gun at him, telling him it was over. He smiled at me, a horrible smile with rotting teeth. It is over. I'm going to wake you up. And when you wake up, you'll disappear. And I'll kill again. Perhaps I'll pay your daughter a visit. I tried to ask him what he meant. But then I woke up in my bedroom. In the dream my girl and I are doing something routine and average. Perhaps shopping, or driving in our car, or cooking. It's always something mundane, but just knowing she is there with me fills me with overwhelming love and joy. I always reach out to tell her that I'm in love with her, that this small moment, even though insignificant, is amazing to me because she is there and because we are together and happy. I go to say these words to her, but every single time, all that comes out of my mouth is I'm sorry. Just then she'll turn to look at me and that's when I always wake up, startled, sweating, heartbroken, words choking in my throat. The rest of the day will be grey and hazy, with me going through the ritual of daily life, smiling when I'm supposed to smile, lest someone asks the question I dread most, is something wrong? A decade of enduring that dream now. She's gone forever, and I'll be cursed with that dream till I die, I think. This happens to me. I can't stop thinking about this one made up world and dream, and it fills me with sadness thinking about the life I'm not in, where we are doing something so bland yet just company of each other is fulfilling. And every time you want to speak, the second you do, it's time to wake up. And that deep sorrow of the Neverland weighs down on you. Let me tell you something. The one time I ever had the courage to ask a girl out was in a dream. I had no idea it was a dream, and the fact I had opened up to them about my heartbreaks in the past and my feelings towards my life going forward left me feeling cheated. And again, the one time I had the courage and wits to ask a girl out, it wasn't even real. This is a long one. I used to dream about nuclear war and the aftermath a lot. In one dream, the bombs had fallen and vehicles were gone B/C of no gas anymore. So I was walking in MPLS. All the buildings were boarded up and there were people everywhere. At the head of an alley, there was a fence and people were gathered to watch an entertainer. I stood there, and a guy with a long beard and wearing a robe came out from behind the fence and started dancing. It was more like take-eye, but I noticed that when he moved his arms or legs, there was a barely visible blue flame trailing behind. It was beautiful, and he wasn't being hurt by it. Then I looked down and there was a basket of puppies, but they were on fire with the same blue flames and they were being harmed by it, but slowly and with no sound. I looked around and no one else seemed to notice it. I tried to put it out and couldn't and had to watch them all die. Then the dancer went back behind the fence into the alley. Then I knew something, like in dreams, when you don't hear a voice, but just know it. Dream knowledge, or whatever. The guy was Jesus, and since he couldn't suffer and die again, everyone would have to suffer smaller things and all that suffering would make up for our sins and to redeem us. Watching puppies burn to death was my suffering. I woke up wanting to go in the alley and say WTF. I once had an incredibly vivid dream that I was on a bus and a few rows in front of me sat my, several years before deceased, grandpa. I was looking at him and hoping that it was really him when he turned to look at me and winked, something he always did, and in the way that was particular to him. I stood up to go and sit closer to him, and we were just about to start talking when I woke up. I tried so desperately to go back to sleep and have that conversation with him, but it never happened. Now, I don't believe that it was him back quote visiting me, rather my brain creating something that I would dearly love. But it's a nice thought. I probably had this dream 10 years ago, or maybe more, and I still regularly think about it. I had a dream that I woke up middle in the sea in a warship and thought my real life was dream. Then I learned that we won a war in my country, and going back to home, I met a jerk soldier in the ship. We got along so well. When we got to home, weirdly it was Norway, and it was 1890s. I'm from Turkey, but the thing is my dream country is Norway. So I got so happy when I got in Norway. I met more people in warship that some of them became my best friends. Now I don't wanna explain the whole story after this, but basically I married the girl I met, had children, had best friends, and lived a happy life. Got in some more war, but I managed to survive all. And then I woke up and was back in this shithole life. I had a dream once that I was playing Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess as Wolf Link, but I was the wolf. It was really cool as I found a new area and ended up doing a mini boss fight against Zant. I could do so many different moves that I couldn't in the game and ended up beating Zant only for him to try and run away. I wasn't gonna let him get away, but I woke up and never got to know what happened next. I ended up beating the game itself a couple days after the dream though. Still my favorite Zelda game though. I was a traveling salesman going door to door, having no real success until I knock upon the door of a comely red-headed woman in a very tight workout outfit. Things start looking up when she invites me in. Things are really looking up when next thing I know, we are rolling around on the floor making out, half naked. Then all of a sudden I hear the door open, someone step in and shout, "Wendy, what are you doing?" I look up, it was fucking Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's. I then woke up and starting laughing out loud. I was boarding a weird ass plane with some family. Some regular stuff happened. Then the pilot, who was an actual idiot, started to fly too close to the ground. I don't remember why. Anyways, obviously, we crashed. Some people died obviously, but I survived. Weirdly, the scene of me falling out looked like it was on the National Geographic Channel. Anyways, I survived, but my legs didn't. So I had to start living in a wheelchair, which wasn't too bad. I did have a hard time getting up this sort of porch thought. As soon as I got up, I woke up. I really want to see what happened next, but I never managed to return to it. I had a dream that was entirely in stained glass. Like the whole thing was like a kaleidoscope of colors and there were dragons and battles and a magnificent ball with a queen in red, which is where I woke up. I have never had a dream like this before or since. There was also another dream where it seemed to be some sort of mid-apocalypse situation with monsters. I was being taken care of by some military type folks after they found me just wandering the snowy woods. But the most fascinating part was the faceless samurai in red. He wasn't on my group's side, but he wasn't a direct threat either. I was certain I knew him, because I wasn't worried about him. I really want to know how it ends, but I've never had this one again either. I'm a lucid dreamer, so this happens to me almost daily. My most common recurring dream is a nightmare. There's always something that's trying to get me, and I have to sneak around and hide to avoid getting murdered or assaulted. Sometimes I run into people that want to turn me over to the bad guys. Sometimes I meet people who want to help. I have become familiar with these people, and if I ever come across them again, I know I can trust them. I also remember certain places. I have learned how to navigate through them, and I can locate all the secret doors and pathways in those specific settings. I know my way around houses and neighborhoods, and I know where my hideous locations are. Since I'm lucid throughout, if things get bad I can will things into existence. If I concentrate just right, I can fly or teleport. And I can feel every part of it. It feels incredible. If I wake up in the middle of one of those dreams, I usually try to go back to sleep to finish it, because I love how it feels even if it's scary. The only times I don't want to go back are when I've woken myself up because I was about to get killed or assaulted. Sometimes on my days off I'll take multiple naps a day just so I can dream in that world more. As a fellow lucider, I will always wake up shortly after getting too greedy and breaking the rules of the dream, so to speak. I've learned I enjoy them more when I avoid that and just go with the flow without cheating. The defining moment for me was the last in a series of reoccurring nightmares that involved a shadow figure of what appeared to be pure evil. This thing was like the Eye of Sauron, but just a shadowy abyss. I usually woke myself up before it could catch me and suck me in. Then one day I decided I had enough. The figure was closing in on me, and I said to it, "Fine, do what you will," or something like that, and completely gave myself up to it. It sucked me in. I saw nothing but darkness, and I never had a nightmare again. I suggest you let them catch you next time it happens. I was going for a job interview. This was the main part of the dream. It was in an elegant facility. It was like a country house front end to a modern looking facility. The job wasn't mentioned in the interview, but just questions about me, my work and opinions. Following the interview we exited the building and walked up a hill overlooking a modern looking busy train station. We spoke and I was told I passed and that I should call the gentleman on the number that I watched him write down on a piece of paper and hand to me. Then I woke up. In a rush I got to my phone and dialed the first 5 digits, and I frustratingly drew a blank, forgetting the rest of the number. Me and this girl I had a crush on at the time were having sex all over the planet. Super wet dream. In the back of cars, hotels, mountain ranges, etc. Everything felt so surreal. I could feel her lips when we kissed, at least what I imagined them to feel like, her silky smooth skin, and, well, you know, everything else. We were about to do it on the International Space Station, a personal lifelong dream of mine. Always wanted to have sex somewhere other than Earth. So I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. We're waiting in line and she's talking about how she was gonna be on top and wanting me to be submissive while she does her thing. Yes please. And I woke up. I was so pissed. Like, damn brain, a man can't have sex in space before I wake up. I was dreaming that I was an adult, probably late 20s early 30s. I was not super rich, but I was well off. I was on a plane and there was a super cute redhead. We talked about what we did on our spare time. Then I told her about how I always liked girls that didn't like me, BTW. Although it was a dream, it is sadly true. Anyway, we talked about life and I said something about how people didn't care too much about me. She then said something that made my 13 years old body get excited, to say the least. She said, "I guess someone cares about you after all." While touching my leg, I woke up right after and not seeing her made me sad. I felt empty for a few days after that. I still think about her sometimes. I have weird dreams. If I remember, I note them down. The one I wanted to go back to was where I was having a tickling fight with Patrick Swayze. Skew spelling. The bloke and ghost. I was winning, then I woke up, wanted to go back to finish him off. Here's one I managed to note down more details. The 13th of April 19, dream went somewhere and nephew Jay turned up with GF. Was surprised and pleased to see him. Hugs. ECT. Was wearing a tennis dress and they said how flattering it was, weight wise, and from then on I was always going to wear one. Looked up to see my daughter trying to make out with Jay, leaving high kiss on his neck. His GF said it was okay. My daughter looked up from kissing him and was very red and flushed. His GF was not happy. Woke up. My dream was about me in a kind of labyrinth and I was with my brothers and one of them said to me, "Come on, he's coming." And I didn't understand what he was referring to. And then my father appeared from a corner, but after looking at him for a few seconds, he turned into a giant spider. And I ran. He chased us to eat us, and one of my brothers was so tired that he couldn't run. And I stopped to help him, but my father took him, and there my dream ends. It was so creepy. Point after that I was scared to look my father in the eye. I'm a fan of anime, and growing up I especially loved Pokemon, Digimon, and Sailor Moon. I've had so many dreams where I'm a Pokemon trainer, a Digidestined, and a Sailor Soldier, not all at once, that I would be so upset when I'd wake up, or feel myself wake up, that I'd try to go back to sleep to finish the dream, or at least save my dream in a dream folder to go back to later. Yes, I believed I could save dreams into dream folders as a kid, and on occasion, if I visualized opening that folder to resume a dream, it worked. I was dreaming that I was an adult, probably late 20s early 30s. I was not super rich, but I was well off. I was on a plane and there was a super cute redhead. We talked about what we did on our spare time. Then I told her about how I always liked girls that didn't like me, BTW. Although it was a dream, it is sadly true. Anyway, we talked about life and I said something about how people didn't care too much about me. She then said something that made my 13 years old body get excited, to say the least. She said, "I guess someone cares about you after all." While touching my leg, I woke up right after and not seeing her made me sad. I felt empty for a few days after that. I still think about her sometimes. I had so many of those, but I can't remember them clearly. The funny thing about my dreams is that they come back after a few years and continue the story. The first time a dream repeated itself, I thought, in my dream, okay, that's kind of creepy. Wait, that seems familiar. Oh right, that was a dream I had in elementary school. Wait, that didn't happen before. Since then at least 4 dreams repeated themselves. Peas. IDK if my last dream was one like that too. The fact that all my classmates and some old friends were in it was too intense. I was at some sort of event, and I met a guy. We clicked, well. Really well, INF fact. We talked for hours and eventually I woke up right after we kissed. I went back to sleep and it continued, but I couldn't find him. He'd left or something. I couldn't remember his name, just what he looked like. I've never felt as safe and comfortable as I was with Dream Guy. And I spent the next 5 or so dream hours asking about him and trying to find him. I knew it was a dream after this too, but honestly, I just wanted to spend a little longer with him. Once as I figured out how to control my dreams, I could dream anything I wanted. I'm too embarrassed to say what. It was cheesy and included a crush on a celebrity that would be too embarrassing to declare. But I'd dreamed me and my crush celebrity spent every day together, hit the beaches, ride motorcycles etc. Once as I figured out how to control my dreams, I could dream anything I wanted. I'm too embarrassed to say what. It was cheesy and included a crush on a celebrity that would be too embarrassing to declare. But I dreamt me and my crush celebrity spent every day together, hit the beaches, ride motorcycles etc. Once I dreamt I could fly, but only when my life was in danger. So I decided I would start fighting the mob, like 1900s gangsters. Not sure why they were there, but it put me in danger a lot. And I could fly. It was so much fun flying that I kept doing it 3 or 4 times till I woke up. I've always wanted to go back and fly more. It was such a surreal peaceful feeling being able to fly away from any danger.